Hi there and welcome again. One of the phrases in yesterday's Gospel reading caught my attention. In fact, it posed a bit of a challenge, and I want to share that challenge with you today. One of the phrases in the Gospel said, "Unless you change and become like little children, you will not enter the kingdom of heaven." Now, this was Jesus speaking to his disciples, and it caught my attention. And so I had to try and think for a little while, at the risk of generalizing, I know, what are some of the characteristics of being like a little child? And one of the first that came to mind was trust. Children trust. They trust one another. They trust their parents. They trust strangers, and so on. There's a whole spirit of trust in little children. And as a result, there's a whole spontaneity. There's a whole simplicity, a lack of sophistication that we oldies tend to take on or project. There's a whole simplicity there that is of the child. And as a result, there's a whole capacity for affection. Children can be so affective. They can run up and hug you. They can run up and talk to you, listen to you. And there's a whole basis there of trust that is spontaneous and natural for them. And another one, of course, is joy. You see a group of children together, and there's laughter, there's running, there's playing, there's joy there. And coupled with the joy is the delight that they give to their elders. And if you have any doubts about the delight that children can give, ask some clucky grandfather, or I presume you know quite a few of them, and ask them, do their grandkids delight them or not? And it's beautiful. And a third one for them is what I would call a spirit of enquiry. I think probably the most common word in the lexicon of youth or of kids, is precisely why. And once you've struggled for an answer and given the answer, then comes back, but why? And it's lovely. There's an openness to the new. There's an openness to grow, to change, to learn. A beautiful openness in the kids. And so there are three at least of the characteristics that in children caught my attention. And I had to think, following on that, of the Pope, Pope Francis. Certainly in recent years, in recent centuries possibly, the one man who has brought a sense of joy, of spontaneity, of simplicity into the church governance is Francis. And we see him there with trust, with an openness, a call to be open to the new, not to be closed in, to be afraid, but to be open, to meet, to know, to listen, to share. He uses the word frequently, encounter. And I think that's what he's talking about. To be in the kingdom, we need to meet and know people. And to do that, we need to trust them. And there's joy. The Pope is very strong on joy. Even the title of his first encyclical was The Joy of the Gospel. And I think in that document he says, the good news that is presented without joy is neither good news nor will it be responded to. That the gospel, the good news, is a fount of joy for all people. And then the final one, of course, is openness. And the Pope is very strong on openness. That we be open to one another. That we be open to new ideas. That we be open to new ways. Because without change, there's no growth and there's not a lot of life. And I think of the example, the image of Francis that you've possibly seen. One where he has a lamb over his shoulders. There's a great big smile on his face. It's the shepherd with the lamb on his shoulders, imaging the parable that was in yesterday's gospel of the lost sheep. One man had 100 sheep, he lost one, and so he went looking for it until he found it. Then he brought it home rejoicing. And I think that's the same with God, with us. He searches for the little ones, the lost ones, the weak ones, the needy ones, and the children of his kingdom, the children of his creation. And then Jesus also says, what you do to one of these, the least of my brothers or sisters, you do to me. Whatever you do to the little ones, you do to him, you do for him. Yeah. And the other example where Jesus says to the disciples, let the children come to me. They are important. So, just finally, 3 characteristics of being like a little child. One is to be open. Another is to be joyful. And another is to trust. So that might help you and help me to get into the kingdom of God. Thanks very much. Have a great week.